All right, what's up, everybody? It's me, your best friend, Tremaine from Mind Over Money. I am a financial planner and investment advisor, and your host for the journey to 1 trillion. We are gonna be working together to help 1 million people grow their invested assets to $1 million or more. And in order to do that, for some of us, well, for all of us, really, we're gonna have to have a reset on our mindset. So I brought back Shaquanda, our money confidence coach, to help us reset for the middle of the year. Can you guys believe it has been 6 months since we had this conversation? And of course, I'll let Shaquana reintroduce herself. But while we are waiting, we always do here. Please comment, tell us who you are, take up space, all of the things in these comments, and let people know who you are, how you can serve, and honestly, what you're trying to learn from tonight's session. So I'm gonna tag our friends, and if you have friends who are in the Facebook group um, that are not here, tag them and get them here, okay? Because tonight's conversation is going to be good. It's gonna be good. We don't have a script, and I just know it's gonna be good because I remember last time. Is just an important topic. So get in the room, y'all. Get in the room. Okay, so let me get in here and tag the cousins, okay? Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. All right, so I got our post in. That's Bryant. Hey, Bryant. Yolanda. Hey, Yolanda. All right, cool. So I done tagged our friends to get here. We're gonna start this conversation. Because I want to dive into mindset and go a little bit deeper today. So Shaquana, can you introduce yourself again for the folks who are new and remind the folks who didn't get a chance to see um, last time we talked? Like, let them know who you are.
Thanks, Tremaine, and thank you for welcoming back to your space and your audience. Because, like you said, we had a great discussion in December, so I'm just really happy to be here tonight. So, hey everyone, my name is Shaquanda Watson-Harkness. I'm a money confidence coach and the founder of Dollars Make Sense, where I help professional Black women gain financial confidence to save and manage their money without fear and overwhelm. And my personal finance story of how I came to be who I am today is that over 20 years ago, I was a broke college student that wanted to go on spring break, didn't have the money. So, you guys all know the story. You're trying to go on spring break, wherever it may be. I think now people probably going to Dubai for spring break. But anywho, I was just going to Orlando. That's where I wanted to go to Disney because I never been on a plane, never been to Florida, didn't have the money. So I'm like, how can I go on spring with my college roommates? So I was coming back from a class. There was a credit card table set up outside my dorm. They was like, hey, you sign up for this credit card, you get approved in a week. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm hearing free money. So I'm like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
sign me up. There was no strings attached from what I can tell. And it was pretty easy to do. So I put my application in, got the credit card a week later, and I was hooked.
Ooh.
So for the next 20 years, I just got credit cards and all types of debt because it funded my lifestyle because I love to travel, I love to do all the things, right? So over that 20-year time period, I accumulated over $200,000 of debt. And 5 years ago, I made a decision that really changed the trajectory of my life and where I'm at today. And I know a lot of you might be feeling this way where you feel like your back is against the wall because you make a good income. You have the smarts to figure out how to save money, how to how to save money, how to manage your money, right? But it's not reflected in your bank account. And that's
Mm.
where I was. I was living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay my bills. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way. I'm book smart, but now I got to get money smart because everything I'm learning, I'm just learning through a lot of mistakes, right? When it comes to money. So I found a financial coaching program early 2018, went through that program, did my first budget. Then 20 months after completing the program, I paid off $169,000 of debt. And currently, what I do is I teach my current clients my framework, my 5 step framework, on how I did it so they can achieve the same results or better.
Yes. So I definitely want to pause for a moment and celebrate for paying off. How much? $170,000.
Yes, close to
Listen,
seven or
y'all,
70, yeah.
that's a big deal. So I definitely want to celebrate you for being able to pay that off. That's amazing, right? So what I hear is you can teach people who are making great income how to pay off this debt and still be able to do the things that they love, right, because
Right.
everything comes with moderation, right? Yes, we're getting some love in these comments, right?
Oh, thank you
um
guys.
yes, congratulations, that's a big deal, we want to celebrate that. So I want to dive into, like, out the gate, you realize that you had this debt, right? um and what was the trigger for you that you got to the point where you were like, enough is enough and I have to do something about this?
The trigger for me was I went to get groceries. And at the time, I used my credit card for groceries because I never had money. And I went to the register, and I think it was like $30 I was spending. And the card didn't go through.
Wow.
Did I try the second card? The second card didn't go through. Did I try the third card? It was so embarrassing. And I had a line just building it. Because first it was just me in a line. And then I was like, can you run it again? Can you run it again? Maybe it's something wrong with your card reader or something, right? And that's when it hit me. So at that situation, I had to basically put back some items, and then it went through. But the fact that that happened for $30, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. This is madness. And like I said, at the time, I was making a great income. So I'm like, this 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 can't be how it should be. I shouldn't be working to pay bills
Yeah.
and working to feel like at this time I was a impulse buyer,
Hmm.
and I would shop a lot because I was lonely, and I knew I had a bad spending habit in that area that I was aware of, but I kept doing it because it gave me that instant high to buy whatever I wanted. But at the same time, once that high was gone and I looked at that statement, and I'm like, how am I pay that? So being embarrassed, to kind of circle it all back, being embarrassed that I could not pay cash or even for my debit a $30 grocery bill, I'm like, something's got to change. It's got to
Yeah.
be a better way. And then repeating the same mistakes over and over again, where I'm constantly getting paid. Basically, I'm working to pay bills. I pay the bills on Friday, and then by the next Tuesday I have less than $100 last for the next 2 weeks, and then the cycle begins again. And I'm like, I don't want to live like that no more.
Mm.
I'm too smart, too beautiful, and I know I can be better with money, even though I wasn't taught all the things when it comes to financial literacy, like how to balance a checkbook, how to make sure that you manage debt. I know that even though I'm starting at ground zero, I can definitely change my situation if I just put the work into it and find a solution. I was
Yeah.
ready to find a solution instead of me figuring out for the last 20 years what I was trying to figure out on my own, because I didn't want to go to other people or my family and friends and say, hey, I'm struggling when it comes to money. They were like, girl, you are a college educated woman. Why can't you figure out how to save money? Or at least that's what I thought they would have said. So I kept that dirty secret that I'm bad with money to myself. But then I realized, I need help. And if I can't ask for help from people that I know and trust and I love, then it has to be an outside party that can give me the help that I need.
This was so good. That was so good. Um, so thank you for sure for diving that deep into it, right? And what I heard from you is that first, you felt embarrassment. And it's interesting how that's a common theme, right? When we get to a place where something happens and our response is like, oh, I'm embarrassed, I need to do something about this, right?
Mhm.
But also too, you highlighted that being in debt is not a low income problem,
Mhm.
right? Being in debt is a overspending problem no matter your income. And so I think that's freeing,
Mhm.
because now it's like you having credit card debt is not an indicator that, you're not making no money. Because I think a lot of people um assume that if you have financial troubles, then people assume you don't make no money. And that's not the
Right.
case, right? You can
Right.
be a multiple six figure income earner and have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And so I want to thank you for, sharing that you was making great money, but as you mentioned, you were just spending more than you should have, and so you racked up the debt, right? So
Mhm.
that was super freeing. um
Yes.
yeah. And then, oh, you touched on so much stuff. You also talked about um one of the things that I specifically can relate to, which is the shopping for that, high, because there was a void that you were trying to fill, right? So
Mhm.
similar to your story that you shared, I also racked up credit card debt shopping. And at the time, I was working as a financial specialist. And what I would do was, when the workday was over, I would drive across the street to the TJ Maxx
Mhm.
and rack it up, right? But I would be buying like blazers. And so I would tell myself, I'm buying work clothes,
Mhm.
right? But really, it was like I was doing all this shopping to fill this void because I was lonely, and I was by myself in Pittsburgh, and I wanted the feeling of that rush to fill that void. So you touched on some really good stuff here. Look, let us know in the comments, right? If that spoke to you, and if you knew it was an indicator, like, okay, and if you're feeling this now, right? Is it a sign that it's time for you to do something different?
Mhm.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Um, so let's talk about some of the strategy behind how you attacked paying off your credit cards. And more specifically want to know, like, was it at the start of the year when you did it, or was it like it's September 17th and enough is enough? Right? Like, I am
Mhm.
moving, taking action right now. What was your strategy behind that?
Yeah. So, um, every year I used to set these financial goals, right? So I used to say January 1st, I'm gonna save 10,000 or eliminate $10,000 of debt. But I never reevaluated whether I reached that goal to December 31st.
Mm,
So I repeated that same pattern, I think, for 5 years. So at the end of 2017, I was watching Dick Clark. I don't think he was alive then, but anyway, I watched Dick Clark and watched the ball drop or whatever. And you get in kind of the mode of, hey, what do I want to do for the new year? So I said, I got to do something different. So
mm-hmm.
I started the year getting into my strategy was I need somebody to help me. I can't figure this out on my own. So I need a financial coach or program that can walk me through how to do it. And I identified the program that I went through because I was familiar with this program for a number of years, even way back when I was going to a particular church. They gave out free books about this particular program. Well, the person that runs the program, but it didn't resonate with me. And I've been following this person for a number of years, and I knew people that went through the program had great results in getting out of debt fairly quickly. So I said, you know what? January 1st, I'm going to go and I'm going to commit myself to doing it. And so that was the strategy for number one, getting a coach or someone that can show me the blueprint because I knew that I needed accountability and I needed a blueprint. Because I'm a person that if you give me a blueprint and you hold my hand through it, I'll figure out the rest. I can go. So that was my first strategy, getting the coach. The second strategy is having an accountability partner. So my accountability partner was my husband. So he was the one that kind of encouraged me, as I went through the program, because when we started together, it was about 10 people. and it was a 9-week program. And at the end of the 9 weeks, it was just me and him. And it
Wow.
was a Saturday morning, like 8 o'clock. So who wants to do that when you work 9 to 5 throughout the week? But like I said, I was laser focused. So it was the beginning of the year, and normally, and I knew that going into it, like January through March, I didn't have a lot of distractions. I didn't
Mm,
have trips. I didn't have weddings. I didn't have, last minute barbecues and all the things that kind of get you caught up in the summertime, right?
mm-hmm.
So I knew that I had the time, the space, and less distractions to do it. Plus, I was ready to do it, because if this would have happened to me 5 years earlier mentally, I wouldn't be ready to receive the feedback and the coaching and actually take action, because I just mentally wasn't ready at that time. But this time I was ready, and I knew it in my heart, and just how I was planning to move through my finances for 2018. So, so the second is account. So the first thing was getting a coach, found a blueprint. Second was having an accountability partner. The third thing was finding the best strategy as far as eliminating my debt. So I used the debt snowball method. So for me, that worked great because, at the way it's set up is you line up all your debts from smallest to largest. You make the minimum payments on all your debts, and then any extra money you have, you apply to the smallest debt. Then once you pay off the smallest debt, you apply that payment to the next highest debt, and that's where a snowball occurs. And I like that because I can get the small wins, meaning that, if I paid off the $500 credit card, which I did, I think within 2 months, I'm like, oh, this is great. This 500 limit credit card I've had for 5 or 6 years, and I never paid it off. I've always paid the minimums or whatever. So for me to do that, I was like, yes, I got it. I got it. So once I did that, it kept me motivated to keep going and going and going. So it's kind of like playing like a video game, like it's gamification. Like once you get that first one, you're like, I gotta keep going, so I can reach another level, another level. So it got me so excited and so pumped up. And that's basically what I did. And I just stayed consistent to it, even when, and I tell some all of my clients, even when you feel like you failed or you're going to have failures along the way, don't look at it as failures. Just look at it as a short distraction.
Mm. Short. Emphasis on short.
Now we can make it a failure, a long-term failure, if we keep sitting in it.
Mm.
But what I teach is you have to face it, deal with it, and keep it moving,
Yeah.
right? So, during my journey, the water heater went, and that was like about $1,500. So that the time that we had to repair that, which we did, I think we paid mainly in cash for that. So I think we paid any credit cards for that. Yeah, that was mainly in cash, which was great. I was like, that was a big win too.
Mm.
Um, so we took that money, and then the money that I would have applied to my savings or my debt elimination, I put that on pause for a couple of months to kind of recoup from that. But that was a short term distraction. I still said, okay, the next 2 months, I'm going right back to what I was doing. And I did, because I was already motivated, because I had the wins from paying off the other credit cards, paying off um, a loan for an air conditioner and all this stuff, HVAC system, I should say. So I kind of had all those wins, so I knew that if I got right back on course, which a lot of us need to do, then I could finish the race, which is what I did.
This is so good. This is so good. Look, let me know in the comments if this is good to you. I want to talk about something you said where you were like, if the opportunity would have presented itself 5 years ago, you wouldn't have been ready mentally. But when you started, it was the right time. You knew in your heart it was time, and like mentally you were prepared.
Hmm.
What about your mindset? Like, what were some of the characteristics you were exhibiting that made you know, like, mentally, I'm ready for this?
Good question. I think the social proof of it. So, like I said, when I was following the person that led the program I went through, and I was hearing other people wins as far as paying off, X amount of debt in 2 years or 3 years. I'm like, well, shoot, if they can do it, why can't I? And then you know how we always say, well, those people can do it. We can't do it because we have a 300 year. They have a 300-year head start,
Mhm.
so we starting from ground zero, and they already got wealth, so they good. But so we say those things in our mind, but I'm like, why can't I? You know what I'm saying? So
That's
it's like
good.
that limiting belief, like, you can't do it because, you grew up broke, you grew up in poverty. Well, in my situation, I didn't grow up broke or in poverty, but I did have hard times. I was raised by a single mother and my grandparents. And I always say I had kind of dual lessons when it comes to managing money because my grandparents, they had to be self-sufficient. They had to be excellent savers because during their time they could not get a mortgage because of the color of their skin. They couldn't get a car loan. They couldn't get, all the things that we can take advantage of today. And my grandfather, he was really an excellent saver. I don't even know what his system was, but I can only suspect that from what I can observe and remember, he lived extremely below his means. He would save his retirement income every month, and every 5 to 7 years he would purchase a brand new car with cash. Which I'm like, okay, well, that was the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, right? Is that possible today? Yes, it's possible, because it's all about having that savings plan, that savings goal, the savings plan in place, and executing that plan. So I guess going back to your question with the mindset, I just I saw the social proof with, the people that went through the program, but then also reflecting back on my ancestors, my grandparents, and kind of seeing what they went through. And I'm like, if they went through so many challenges when it came to their finances, why can't I? I think the other thing too was, just eliminating those limiting beliefs that I had, because I always
Mm.
thought that I would be broke or have debt because I was surrounded by that, you know, and I had to kind of let that go because I knew that it was something better, and I had proof of it around me. But it was a matter of me believing that I could be in their position and still do all the things that I love and enjoy, and make it possible for myself.
Mm. Mhm. Yep. Yep. I so let's touch on that a little deeper, right? So one of the things you pointed out was like your perspective about who was around you, the environment you were in, and not accepting that your present environment was the like ultimate outcome that you
Right.
had to
Yeah.
have,
Hmm.
and seeking a different environment. Like what was that like for you?
It was scary because, I still have friends that are not in the best financial position. Um,
Mhm.
they're maintaining, but at the same time, they're probably not where they want to be. And we don't have those money conversations. I still really don't. Even, having a successful business and doing what I do, because it's a touchy subject. So
Yeah.
me kind of stepping outside of that and saying, look, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be struggling. I don't want to have all this debt. I want to be different.
Yeah.
It's scary, but at a young age, I always knew that my life would be different from most people. Just how I grew up. Like I always said to myself, I'm going to move out of Philadelphia, which is where I'm from, and I'm going to go to college. I did that. When I went to college, I said, I want to go to engineering school. And I didn't get in. I had to work my ass off. I got in and I got my engineering degree. So it's like I always had this vision for my life and where I wanted to go. And I knew that if I kept going down the same path, being around people, not bad people, but just not on the same wavelength from where I wanted to go with my finances and doing other things, then I knew that I wouldn't get there. So I had
Mm.
to stretch out and do something different, which is, like I said, it's uncomfortable, it's scary, but at the same time, it's necessary
Yeah.
because when you're uncomfortable, there's growth. And
Ooh.
like I said, there's a lot of growth that I had to go through over the last 5 years in counting, and I have no regrets about it.
Yes, yes. I want to read this comment from Adrian on YouTube with us. He says, "We as a people have been conditioned to accept things the way they are. The moment
Mhm.
the light comes on to fight for one's financial freedom, we battle the systems in place as well as old mindsets."
Mm,
So that's such a big deal. It's like
it's deep.
the desire to step into abundance and to walk in wealth,
Yep.
like it's not a decision that comes lightly because you're going to meet resistance, right?
Mhm.
So I want to talk about how you were able to stick with it even though you saw that like you had to separate from what was familiar, and you had to choose to be uncomfortable, right? What about um this journey, this process allowed you to stay committed, even though like you were afraid and you had to go into different rooms and like it was going to be unknown? Like, what about why you had to do it?
Mhm.
Like, kept you going?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, I just I just didn't want I didn't want to like I said, I always had a desire for a different lifestyle. And I'm a big dreamer. So
Mm,
even if you tell me I can't do it, I'm like, well, I'm gonna find a way. It might not be next year, but it's gonna be sometime soon because I'm gonna make sure I get there. So I always had this big desire to dream big and to focus on that. But like you said, throughout my financial journey, it hasn't been easy. Like I said, there's been situations that came up that kind of took me for a loop. And, there were some months where I didn't meet, certain financial goals that I had projected, and wanted to achieve. But at the same time, I gave myself grace. I said, you know what, Shaquana, you're going to have blips along the way. It's okay, but you have a plan, you have a goal in mind. Just keep going, keep focused on that. And then sometimes too, you know, people that knew that I was on this particular journey, they would come to me and they would kind of check in and say, "Hey, how's it going? I know you trying to pay off that here and there, whatever." And I'm like, "It's going good." And in my mind, I might be lying to myself when I'm telling them that. But the fact that they're checking in with me and holding me accountable, then I'm like, okay, Shaquana, you gotta get yourself together. Which I already do, because I'm hard on myself when it comes to it. But I guess for me, I just had to keep focused on the end goal
mm,
and knowing that I had a plan. I had to keep to that plan, make adjustments along the way, and not get so caught up that, oh, I didn't hit this $1,000 savings goal this month. Maybe I hit $800. Okay, that's cool. So what do I need to do next month to make it work? Because life be life, and you
mm-hmm.
have to make those twists and turns to make it work. Or if I fell short on income, what do I need to do to make it work so that I can get back on track?
Yeah. This is so good, y'all. If you get any gems for this, let us know in the comments. Um, I we got a question. Uh
I,
Back on YouTube, you see it, it says, "How did you celebrate your milestones when paying off debt?" That's a good question, right? Because we don't want to make more
yes.
debt, but we do want to celebrate the journey. Yeah, so tell us that.
Well, I didn't really celebrate until I paid off some. Like I didn't do it with the $500 credit card. I think once I hit like 5,000 that I eliminated in debt or something like that, I think I took myself out to dinner with my husband. And then when I paid that student loan debt of 30,000, I said, "Ooh wee, Mama going shopping." Because it took me so long to pay it. So I was just like so happy that I paid it off. And I think I went shopping and bought myself like a dress or something like that. So I didn't go overboard, but to your point, I think it is important to reward yourself along the journey, because that is an extra boost of encouragement to say, like, look, I hit my milestone, I'm good. But I also feel like during my journey, I'm a big proponent where you don't have to focus on one financial goal because I didn't. So I'm not going to tell you to do that if that doesn't feel good to you. So I didn't just strictly focus on debt elimination. I did debt elimination, I saved money, and I invested because I'm all about compound interest. Tremaine will get you straight with that if you don't know what compound interest is. And I've seen the benefits of because I've been investing since my early 20s. So at this point, anything that I'm investing, I knew that I don't want to take, 2 or 3 year break from my money compounding exponentially. So I still did that. I still eliminated my debt and I still saved. And it's all possible, but you just have to find a customized plan that'll work for you.
That's good. That's good right there. That's good right there. I love that you celebrated your milestones. One of the things that um I started to do for hitting particular milestones is I would plan how I was going to celebrate in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the milestones, like I'm reaching by the end of the year, I want to serve 1,000 people.
Right.
Right. And so the way that I'm going to celebrate is I'm going to take myself on a trip.
Mm.
Right. And so I'm looking forward to this trip to celebrate how many people I've served. So
Right.
it's more motivation
Mm-hmm.
to reach the goal, right? And so you get excited about your reward doing something that you should be doing, right?
Right.
So but like the celebration and the reward needs to be in alignment with the milestone, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
serving 1,000 people, a trip is a appropriate response for that, right? But what
Yes.
we don't want to get in the habit of is planning trips and we paid off $500. Right?
Right.
So there has to be balance. And so you talked about how you paid off $5,000 and you bought yourself a nice dress, right?
Mm-hmm.
You paid off student loans. Y'all went out to dinner, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
I might have had a flip flop,
You
right?
flipped
But
it. Yeah, that's okay.
over time. But the celebration is,
Mhm.
relative to the level of the milestone, right? And so I think that
Yes.
you can combine those, right? You can make sure the milestone makes sense for where you
Mhm.
are in the journey and pre-plan it. So that way you can get excited about the process. So this is so good. This conversation is so good. Y'all having a
And
good
I
time
wanted to
here?
add something to that too. So, like I said, I followed the blueprint that I was provided, but I kind of customized it to my own. So what I mean by that is that particular program wanted you to focus on one goal, eliminating your debt. I didn't do that. The other thing was they didn't encourage you to put, discretionary spending in your budget. I did. Because like I said, if I'm paying off debt, I have to, I don't think everybody do. You need some level of encouragement, and
Yes.
a debt has to feel like second nature. I mean, a budget should feel like second nature to you. It should be a
Mhm.
part of your lifestyle, your daily habits. But I think budget is perceived as kind of a restrictive or nasty
Mhm.
word because of how it's been poured down our throats, where you have to reframe it and say, look, I'm going to budget, but my budget is going to include, my needs, my wants. But if I want to go to Starbucks twice this week, then I'm just going to account for it in my budget. Now that might mean that I have to take some things out,
That's right.
but that's okay because at least I'm having that small little enjoyment that I'm holding myself accountable for, but I'm still keeping on track with managing my expenses, my cash flow, and hitting my financial goals.
That's right. See, I knew you was my people because I don't believe in creating a strategy that makes you miserable.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
When I'm working with my clients too, I'm like, okay, what's your thing?
Yeah.
Right? Because all of
Yeah.
us have a vice. We have something that
Right.
either brings us joy or just like helps make life easier when life starts lifing. I don't
Mm.
believe you should cut that out. I think we need to look forward to those kinds of things. And you're absolutely right. We need to build that into our budget. But I think like we can do some work to reframe. how we feel about this B word, right? Because it's
Yes.
not a nasty thing. When I first got introduced to budgets, I used to work for NASA.
Hmm.
And I realized that all budgets ain't small, right? It's
Right.
some budgets that got a bunch of commas.
Hmm.
And
Right.
so when I started to look at it like that, it's like budgeting is not for broke people. Budgeting is for managing money.
Hmm.
It isn't a negative thing. It just is what it is, right? And
Right.
so when we can pull our budget into alignment with what we value, it's no longer a negative thing. It's you directing your money to help you live your life.
Right.
That's it.
Hmm.
Right. So if you want to spend money in a particular area, deploy the money to that particular area. So
Hmm.
I think that's so good that you kept the discretionary spending in there because what? I would have
Because
fallen off
otherwise,
that
I
wagon
know
so
I wouldn't
bad.
have made it.
I wouldn't have made it either. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have made it. This is so good. Um, so as we start to kind of wrap up this conversation and close out, you always give great gems, right? So I want you to kind of take a moment to think about, what you would say to people who might have been experiencing the same financial struggles year after year, right? What would you say to help them decide now's the time to do something different, right? Not wait until January 1st, not, make up an excuse that it just is what it is. Like, what would you say to help push people past this point of resistance to take action?
The first thing I would say is you have to, like I said earlier, is that you have to give yourself grace. So
Mm,
if for the first 6 months you really didn't do anything, okay,
okay.
girl, or okay, sir, keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't focus on spilled milk. It's already spilled. It's on the floor. Somebody gonna clean it up. What you need to do is focus on the next 6 months. Okay, what do I need to do in the next 6 months to hit this goal or even close to the goal? Because you might need to make adjustments. So let's say if the goal was to save 25,000 and you've only saved two. Well, maybe it makes more sense for you to save $10,000 for the year. So what do you need to do to stay on track with that? And then at the end of the year, you can focus on saving 25 for the next year. So you really have to give yourself grace for what happened the first 6 months. Don't reflect on that because that's where a lot of times we get stuck. We're like,
Mm,
oh, well, I didn't do anything, so I guess I won't do anything for the rest of the year. I'll start January 1st, like you said. But we can't do that because every second, every minute, every hour, every day that you are not making that decision, your money is constantly escaping your bank account, it's
mm.
going to other people, making them wealthy, and you still here. I don't want to say broke, but you might be broke, or you might not be where you are financially. And you can't stall because you don't know what the 6 months, next 6 months might hold for you. So you have to put yourself in position to achieve financial stability if you're not currently in that state right now. And the only way you do that is to take action tonight, not even today, tonight.
Ooh,
So if that action is for you to find a financial coach, take action, do the research, find the person that works for you and will coach you through your financial journey. If it's looking for a financial solution, do the research. But as you do the research, do the due diligence, make a decision. Because no decision, if it's giving you, if whatever decision you make is going to take you one step closer to getting to your goal, then it's not a bad decision. So you have to keep that in mind. It might not work out the way that you want to, or it may work out, but either way, it's giving you one step closer to that goal. Another thing is, as you're kind of resetting and figuring out your next steps, make sure that you're consistent with monitoring your progress. So making sure that, if things are coming up, making those adjustments and keep it moving. There's no reflect, there's no looking back. When you're driving the car, you're looking out the front, you're making sure you ain't hitting no cars in front of you. You're looking at your side mirrors, making sure no one you hit nobody on the side. You can't be driving from the back. You got to drive from the front. And that's how you have to look at it when it comes to your money. So give yourself grace, adjust your goal if you feel like it doesn't seem achievable, but making sure that it's attainable for the next 6 months, and then monitor your progress. Make sure that you're getting to where you need to go the next 6 months, but you got to take action tonight.
That's good. That's good. So Shaquanda said find a money coach, and I'm like, look, you don't even gotta look far. I dropped the link in the comments. You don't gotta look far. The link is in the comments if you want to work with Shaquanda. Can you talk a little bit about the challenge you got coming up?
Oh, yes, yes. This week, I'm actually doing a challenge, a 3-day challenge called Stack 1K in 3 days. So the goal of the challenge is for you to stack that first $1,000 to fund your emergency savings account. Because a lot of you do not have that emergency savings account in place because you struggle with trying to figure out where I'm getting this money from, how can I save it, and how can I be consistent around saving that money. So over the 3 days, we focus on how to give you that $1,000 in 3 days, and it's a free challenge. So you'll be able to walk through what we talked about tonight. We talked a lot about our money mindset. We talked about budgeting, which we focus on in day 2, and then day 3, we focus on how to find this money because you got the $1,000. You just don't know what that $1,000 is. So now we're gonna make that $1,000 work for you versus you have to work for it. So definitely sign up, and also if you want to get faster results, then you should definitely upgrade to VIP. Because in VIP, you actually get coaching with me for 3 days as well during the challenge.
Oh, I didn't know that was included in VIP.
Yes.
I got the code for VIP, y'all. You get 20% off by using Rich20. Okay.
Yes.
That's dope. That's dope. I'm excited for this savings challenge because I think that it'll help people jumpstart
Yes.
getting back on the horse, right?
Hmm.
As you were talking about tracking and giving yourself grace, one of the things I was thinking about is like the 6 months, it really can make a difference. But I think for some of us, our lack of discipline is holding our wealth hostage.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
like our inability to commit to doing the things we're supposed to do is preventing us from seeing the wealth we're supposed to see.
Mm.
Right. So I love that you are calling us out to say, hey, don't wait till tomorrow. Like, take action today. If you know you need support, connect with a financial coach. And we got one right here. Right. So if you know you need help with saving and trying to figure out where extra money is so you can pay off debt, get you a coach. Okay, you got a great one right here that's paid off $170,000. Okay, so she can assist you. But at the very least, guys, sign up for that savings challenge. To just be in an environment
Mhm.
where folks are committed to trying to do something different. The biggest piece is getting it in a space where the mindset and the energy of the room is forward progressing, right? So I encourage you, sign up for this challenge. If you want VIP coaching, like, get you a coach. Okay, get you a coach. I'm 100% for paying experts for accelerated results. So a lot of times, and I can speak for myself. Before my own mindset about money shifted, I was trying to free my way to millions,
Mhm.
and it's just that is not a thing, not
Mhm.
sustainable anyway, right? We want to stop overworking ourselves and pay for the shortcut. So get
Right.
around folks
Right.
who have
Get the
already
blueprint.
done it.
Like I got the blueprint.
Yep, get the blueprint. Get the blueprint.
Oh, and I forgot to mention anyone that upgrades to VIP, they get 20% off just being a part of your community. So that's my gift to
Oh,
the community.
see, it pays to be in spaces
Yes.
where people are doing the work, y'all. So, Shaquanda, thank you so much for coming to talk to us
Thank
tonight.
you.
This was such a good conversation yet again. And I'm excited for the folks who are here with us watching this live and everybody who's going to be watching the replay to check back in at the end of the year to see how much progress we have made. So, if you're listening to this, know that at the end of the year, I'm going to ask some questions. Okay. My questions are going to be, we talked about this in July.
Mhm.
What have you done differently? Because I don't want us to be in the same position, right?
Right.
So if you're here now and there's not a lot of money in savings, don't let that be the same circumstance 6 months from now,
Right.
right? Or whatever your thing is that you need to work on. Decide that 6 months from now, you're going to have progression relative whatever is possible for your finances, right? So thank you again so much, Shaquana. This has been amazing. Guys, we have um just had a wonderful talk about resetting our mindset in the middle of the year. I hope that this was beneficial to you as you were watching and participating. And we are continuing our journey to 1 trillion, helping 1 million people grow their invested assets to $1 million or more over the next 20 years. I'm your host, Tremaine Wills, and I'll see you for our next session. Have a great night, y'all.